Shalom from Galilee, Israel. I'm driving right now. I just pulled over because I want to share a message with my American friends. This is a great day. This is an important day. This is a historical day. And I felt led to share with you a few thoughts that I believe are important for all of you to think about and to process before you go to vote today. So first of all, I'm happy to see you guys online right now, and always it's good if you write where you're from, and that'll be a great thing for me to understand who's watching, where from. The last message I posted was on Saturday, and more than 140,000 people watched it, and it was a message that I received from the Lord from Ezekiel 34, the first 10 verses of Ezekiel 34, regarding the shepherds that the Lord is not pleased with. Shepherds, leaders, political leaders of the nation of Israel at that time, but I believe this is a very timely message also for America even today. Shepherds that took care of their own and did not take care of their own flock, but only themselves. And God promised that He will remove them. And the removal is up to the people. If the people will want them out, they will be out. If the people will vote them out, they will be out. If the people will actually collaborate with them and go along with them, they will stay. They will stay forever. And it's always been like that. God is always a gentleman, and God is always there to obviously give the people what the people want. God has His standards and His ways, and they're very clear through His word. But when the people of Israel, for example, said to Samuel, "Hey Samuel, we don't really like your two boys, and we want a king flesh and blood," then Samuel was so upheld by it, and he was so sad that he came to the Lord and said, "How come they don't like me anymore and my family?" And the Lord said to Samuel, "Hello Samuel, it's not about you, it's about me. You see, I am their king, I am their God. I give them sons and daughters, horses and food. And what happened is, they now want someone else, flesh and blood, that will take their sons, their daughters, their horses and their food. And if that's what they want, Samuel, then that's what they get." And the people of Israel ended up with a very good-looking king, King Saul, whose only greatness was the fact that he was tall and handsome, but nothing more than that. And they were stuck with him for over 20 years. Now, the lesson is this: if you vote and demand for something that is against the word of God, against the will of God, then most likely God will allow it. I believe that it's up to the people. And God is a gentleman. You know, in the book of Deuteronomy, in chapter 30, the Lord said to the people of Israel, "Here I put before you today good and evil, life and death." And then He tells them, choose life. The choice is in our very hand. God puts before us the options in this world, the good that He gives and the evil that the enemy gives. But it is eventually within our very hands to decide, within our very minds and capacity to process that which is offered to us and to decide what we want. God can only tell us, He's a gentleman, choose life. For the past 8 years, America chose death, chose evil. And I believe that for the most part, most Americans did not know that when they voted for Obama. But Obama is leaving behind him a completely destroyed and crumbling nation. Obama is leaving behind him a nation that has the most poorest foreign policy in the world, a nation that has no respect among the nations of the world right now, a nation with enormous debt, a nation that is more divided than ever before. The first African American president is now leading a nation that has the highest rate of racial issues within the country. Everything they voted him for was proved to be wrong. And now the game is, let's do the first women. Let's vote for the first female president, and it's going to be the same old, because again, nobody looks at qualifications. Everybody looks at, let's make history, and these type of things explode in our face. Now, let me explain what really is happening right now, and so you understand. For the past 8 years, Obama was not only leading, but spearheading, but also implementing a policy, both foreign and domestic policy, that turns America more into what Europe is. Socialist, no borders, open immigration, redistribution of wealth. All of that failed in a catastrophic way in Europe today. And look what happens to Europe right now because of the no borders, because of the free immigration, because of all of that. Europe is bleeding right now. And for the past 8 years, America was making a long way to look like Europe. Now, I believe that America is on the verge of completely turning into Europe, which is way beyond political. It's actually also spiritual. And if you wonder what I'm talking about, just watch my latest message from the conference I had, Understanding the Times, in Minnesota. Europe ready for the Antichrist. I believe the Antichrist is going to come from Western Europe, and I laid the foundations for that for that understanding in my message, and you should watch it. And what we see is that over the past 250 years, America, which was founded on a completely different values, systems of values than Europe, America that actually was established by people who ran away from Europe, who wanted something different. America is becoming more and more like Europe. It's almost like a dog that runs back to where he vomited. And this is so frightening, because what I believe is happening right now is America is given the last chance, which is today, historical day, to decide, are we going to make the final stage, a final step of becoming Europe, or are we going to go back to what America originally was all about? And this is what today is all about. And there's no doubt that America needs Jesus, and there's no doubt that it's all about godliness or ungodliness. But you have to remember, today you're not voting for a senior pastor. Today you're not voting for elders committee in your church. Today you're voting for the leader of your nation and for your commander-in-chief. And you have to understand that you cannot measure a politician by standards of a pastor or a spiritual leader. Trump will never be a pastor. He's not made out of that material. And that's not what you should be expecting from a politician. Now, the problem is that politicians have the capacity of influencing a whole nation and taking them down with them. Now, remember, King Saul was a king. He was a political leader, but it was Samuel that led the nation spiritually. So it happened with King David. King David was a king. Yes, he was a spiritual man, but it was Nathan the prophet that eventually confronted David with his sin. So there was a spiritual position also, which was not the king. My point is very simple. I believe that under the influence of the political leader, also spiritual leaders will either have the room to operate according to God's way, or will have the oppression and suppression to actually not say the right things, lest they will be condemned or indicted. What America needs is a president right now that will lead the nation out of the completely dark era that Obama led the nation into, and will allow Christianity to no longer be under that fear and under that dark cloud. Now, I also want to cause you to understand that what we see today is a lot of it is the system against the one who is not of the system. There is no doubt there is what I call organized crime. There is a system in this world of globalists, of wealthy families that are trying to run the world. They're trying to not elect but select presidents. And that is well known. I touched that in my message on the Illuminati and the one world government that you can watch online also. But what you need to understand is that sometimes the system fails. Sometimes the system is not getting what it wants because the people open their eyes and understand they're being fooled. And this is exactly what Trump caused the system in the last year and a half. Trump knows the system. He is not part of the system. He exposes the system, and he causes the American people to wake up from that terrible nightmare to understand that it is within their hands to change it. And yes, what he calls make America great again, you know, let's think about it for a second. America for many years was a great nation. Now, yes, America was led spiritually to the wrong place. America was led politically to the wrong place, financially, militarily. But what you need is a good leadership. Leadership is not only the president. Look at the vice president. Mr. Pence is a godly man, a man of prayer. He loves the Lord with all of his heart, mind, and soul. And he's a great person to be in the White House as well. I know several of the closest advisors of Donald Trump that are born again, spirit-filled, godly people that wants to see the nation restored even spiritually. And I need you to understand that your duty is to go to vote today for the sake of not letting the system win. They are so amazed at how much the American people are angry. Hillary Clinton hopes that the voting, the turnout of the voting will be low because all they want is to put people asleep, and they don't want people to go to vote, and then the victory is in their pocket. They are amazed. They are alarmed with the large number of people coming to rallies of Pence and Trump, and they're so amazed and they're so alarmed, they're so distressed right now. They're in a stress mode today. All you can do is go and vote. You'll be amazed at how the results by the end of the day might surprise many people. This same story happened with Israel a year and a half ago. The media was so biased. They already crowned the other party leader, the Labor Party, the left wing, the liberals. They already crowned him as the next prime minister of Israel. Unbelievable. And the people they woke up from that terrible, option of maybe having them ruling. In our neighborhood, there's no option for us to live in la la land and to think that things will be great and better when you know that your neighborhood is so tough and rigged and very violent. You have to have a strong person who understands who we're dealing with and is tough enough to deal with them. And so the Israelis, towards the afternoon, Benjamin Netanyahu came out on Facebook and called Israelis, guys, if you're not going to vote, the Arab citizens of Israel will eventually go to vote and will determine that you're going to get the wrong government. So if you're the majority, go out and vote. And that changed the whole picture. People started running to the voting booths, and they casted the ballots, and Netanyahu won. It's not only that he won against all the polls that showed that he's losing, but it was a landslide victory. And I believe that if people will just do the simple thing of going to vote today, there will be an amazing victory for Trump and Pence. I'm not doomed and gloomed. I think you should all lift up your chin up, smile, go to vote, and know that you at least did your share, did your part. The system is corrupt. The system is so abused, but the system can be beaten, and that bubble can be burst. And I want you I want you to understand how important this day is in the history of the United States of America. I believe that if Hillary Clinton is winning these elections, it's almost the end of America. It's almost the end of the country as people used to know and love and serve. America she will complete the hostile takeover that Obama started, and she will complete that evil plan of making America just like Europe. And people of Europe can tell you why America is so different and why Europe is bleeding. Now, the frightening thing about this whole thing is that Europe started influencing America in a bad way already 150, 180 years ago, when people started going to European academic institutions, and they came back with terrible theologies, and they would come back to some very solid Christian theological seminaries and contaminated them with some very bad theologies. And most of the important universities and seminaries that started in America on biblical grounds today are just preaching something, but certainly not the gospel and the word of God. So Europe spiritually started affecting America, in very bad way. What we see now is the attempt to bring America politically, militarily, socially to be like Europe, not just spiritually. And that, I believe, is the last frontier right now. Today is a historical day. Today is a day that I believe that not only praying and fasting, but also going and voting. When you have someone coming running against you with a gun, and God gives you a gun, go and shoot him. Don't just think, okay, I'm going to put the gun aside and pray. God answered your prayer. God gave you a way to defend yourself. God gave you a way to fight back. So don't be ultra super spiritual and then miss out that which God already gave you as a tool to change and make a difference. I believe that casting a ballot is important. I believe it's mandatory, and I believe these are the most important elections in the United States of America in its history. Now, I also want you to know that a lot of people are under a lot of pressure right now, because what happened is that once Hillary loses, all the dirt will come out. The indictment will be inevitable. But it's beyond people, it's countries. Saudi Arabia for many years was one of the biggest donors of the Clinton Foundation, but also of many other things, including ISIS and many other terrorist organizations. And beyond that, Saudi used to be donors for academic institutions in America. Saudi used to control media institutions in America. The Saudi and the Qatari money is flooding America. Now, what happened is the price of oil is below $50. These countries are bleeding right now. They're losing control. They're losing influence. They're losing the grip over their area of influence, as well as their own neighborhood. Even the Sunni world, the whole Sunni axis versus the Shiite is almost gone. Think about it for a second. Saudi Arabia led the Sunni front against the expansion of the Shiite Islam. 85% of the Sunni world, of the Islamic world, is Sunni, but it was all funded by Saudi. It was Jordan, and it was Egypt, and it was the Gulf countries, and even Turkey to a certain extent. And what happened now is that we see that there's a great division and a great rift within the Sunni world, the Arab world. The Saudis feel like the American backstabbed them by being having an alliance with the Shiites government in Iraq, and the agreement with Iran and all of that. And the Saudi prince was rushed all the way to Obama's Oval Office a couple days ago, and it wasn't even open to the public, because they are very much afraid of the option or the day after Hillary loses, and they don't know what to do, because all the dirt is going to come out. And when Trump is saying to drain the swamp, it is much deeper and much thicker and much smellier swamp that you can even imagine. I'm not even going to talk about the sex scandals. I'm not even going to talk about the pedophilia scandals that we have here. I'm just talking about the financial part right now that will tell you how much Ezekiel 34 verses 1 through 10 is so appropriate to America today. And if Americans will pray, and if Americans will repent, and if Americans will be on their knees, I believe that God will remove those bad shepherds, as Ezekiel in chapter 34 is mentioning. I really believe that with all of my heart. I wouldn't sit here and waste my time here in Galilee in Israel today about go to vote if I thought that it's over and it's just a lost battle. It's not lost. We had the same thing in Israel and we turn it around. You can do it if you go to vote. It's all up to you. For the past 8 years in those election campaigns, the Democratic Party was banking on the evangelical vote to be not even in existence, because most of the evangelicals were not even registered to vote. What Donald Trump did, he was running against the entire system of both parties, because both parties are completely corrupt. Both parties received money from unwanted or very bad sources. The Democrats have too many bad things on the Republicans, and the Republican politicians know that they cannot really go all the way and really speak to the people so frankly, because they will be brought down. And Donald Trump could care less, because he was not a politician. He is not a politician. He doesn't come from that area. Therefore, he can tell people straight to their face what the problem is without being afraid. So what? They'll pull one more girl and another more girl, people that never existed before suddenly lining up to say things about him. But hey, nothing sticks. Nothing stays there. These allegations are not only false, but are also a pathetic attempt to not even talk about the issues of the elections, but just to smear personality. And so my message to you today is go to vote, because a victory for Trump is possible, and the media knows that. The Democratic Party knows that. The system knows that. All the big billionaires know that, and they're terribly afraid. Now, people ask me, how come Comey just cleared Clinton again? I think that even he knows that Trump's victory is a possibility, and therefore by clearing Hillary Clinton, there's a good possibility that he did so in order for Obama not to pardon her a minute before he leaves the White House, her and her husband. So once Obama leaves the White House, the case can be open again and there is no pardon. And that's a very good possibility. Probably Comey did a smart thing by clearing her right now, because anything else would cause Obama a minute before he leaves the White House to do those steps, to take those steps. So I'm interested in knowing you guys what you think, but I also want to tell you that don't be fooled by the system. The system banks on foolishness. The system banks on apathy. The system is banking on spirit of defeat and despair. No, today is a day that you can, if you do the right thing, you can actually be happy that you did so, and maybe even celebrate victory. I want you to understand that elections in America affects the whole world, and so I believe that everyone around the world is hoping and praying that the right thing is going to happen. In fact, I even read some posts of Muslims that they said, I never imagined that in my life I will say these words, but I'm actually praying for the United States of America. Can you imagine? That regime is so bad, is so corrupt, that even people from other parts of the world that are normally never really there to support or to pray for America feels obligated to do that. So I want to I want to encourage you. The system maybe is smart, but you guys have the power today. The power is on the social media to call others to vote, and the power is with you taking others physically to vote, and the power is in your hands to go and yourself and vote. Cast the ballot and don't look back. You need to exercise your right, which I believe is also your duty, to go and vote. I'll give you more updates about the Middle East after the craziness of the elections in America. I feel that there's much more to talk about. But right now, everybody's thinking and praying for America, and this is why I came live. I want you to understand that you can't take this lightly. This is a historical day. I'm probably going to stay up all night to watch the elections going on, to watch the polls, the exit polls. But I don't believe the polls, just so you know. I believe the real results of the actual counting of the actual ballots. So it's going to be interesting. I'm not even sure we're going to know today who really is the winner, but I have a good feeling that if people will do their part, Trump can win, and Hillary will have to pay for all of her terrible deeds. It's a criminal that is trying to run and take the White House, a criminal that has done more damage already before the White House, and I can't even imagine of having someone like her in the White House. The damage she can do to the legal system in America and to everybody else is unfathomable. I don't even want to think about that option. Thank you for following us. Again, if you want to get more information from me, go to my to Behold Israel Facebook and sign up for a weekly email update. Also follow us on Facebook, like us on Facebook and Instagram, Behold Israel, and we are planning some wonderful things for next year. I'm going to be speaking next year in 12 different countries. This year I'm going to Croatia, but next year it will start with the Philippines. It will continue with countries like Japan and Indonesia and Singapore and Australia. We're talking about going to Mexico and Canada and the United States and the West Coast. We're talking about going to England and going to Norway, going to Holland, the Netherlands, and I mean, there's so many different countries that are inviting me to speak, not only about Bible prophecy, but just to speak about Israel, which is so important, because once you miss that one out, your entire understanding of the scriptures and of God's word is damaged. So keep praying for us, keep praying for the ministry to grow and for us to have all the resources that we need to enable us to travel and do all of these things. I'm super excited about what God has for us and for people around us. I believe that time is short. There's so much to do, and as Matthew 24 says, and we should be alert. We should understand what's going on, and when Jesus comes to take us, we want him to find us doing his Father's business. And so that's why I want to encourage all of you to be about our Father's business in these last days. And yes, today is all about America. Yes, today I'm all about following and monitoring what's going on there and praying hard and encouraging people to go to vote. But hey, the American elections will be over, and the world is still going on, and the world is still marching towards the preparation for the Antichrist, and the Russians are still making their presence in the Middle East, and the Iranians as well, and the Turks are extremely unhappy with what's going on, and their involvement in Syria is getting bigger and bigger. Ezekiel 38 and 39 is still on the table. Damascus, I believe, in chapter 17 of Isaiah, will be the igniting aspect of this whole thing. I believe that more and more false teachings and false doctrines are trying to discourage believers from even thinking about the rapture. I hear some horrible theologies that there's no rapture, there's no hell, there's no millennial kingdom, that everybody's saved. There's so many bad things going on right now, and that is one of those things that the Bible says that are going to happen. We know that in the book of in 1 Timothy, that people would want to hear that entertainment and the itching of the ears, and that's one of the characteristics of the end times. The false teachings, the false doctrines, those terrible wolves in sheep clothing that are coming actually from within the church. All of that is happening right now, and afflicting the church in ways and in shape that has never been seen before. So I'm encouraged. I'm encouraged not to see bad things. I'm encouraged to see that our redemption indeed is drawing near, and that my hope is not in this world, in the systems of this world. My hope is in my blessed hope, which is the return of Christ to receive us unto himself. And then, of course, once the Lord is done judging the world, we will come back with Jesus to reign with him for 1,000 years here in this world. There's so many great things that I would like to share with you, but today is all about the American elections. I urge people all over the world to pray for the right results. I pray that people will exercise their right to vote, and I also pray that no matter what happens, people will lean on Jesus and not on politicians. That people will even more fervently worship the Lord and get ready, because unbelievable things are about to happen. I preached since January that 2016 is going to be a year of tribulations, and boy oh boy, so far we just started November, and tribulations is just a another name for 2016, and I don't think we've seen it all. There's some more things coming, and I believe that as tribulations are coming, we must remember that we need to be of good cheer, as John 16 says, for he has overcome the world. So I love you from Galilee, from Israel, and I pray that all of you will do the right thing today, and stay in touch, write us on emails, and we want to serve the Lord in spirit and in truth. God bless you, and shalom from Israel.